So we got this big box of stuff. We got stuff from bunch of stuff from Razer. We got Zowie. We got you can see a Logitech box. And we got a SteelSeries box. There's a Roccat box, even though it should be Roccat because it's ROCCAT, and there's a cat as their logo. Don't know how they get Roccat out of there. If somebody wants to explain that, please be my guest. Alright, so we'll give you a preview. There's a Logitech. Oop, that's going to be happening later. We got a SteelSeries as well. We got here's a baggie of adapters. These are AAA to AA. So we got our AAA to AA adapters. Got a brand new box of AAAs here. Just a 4-pack. I don't know if I shouldn't need more than 4, I don't think. This one from Razer, you can do later. Alright. Oh, then we got this. We'll hit this up at some point. Sub $20 mouse. Now sold at Best Buy. Had to pick it up because cheap Chinese-ness. 6400 DPI. So I was kind of hoping it might be the same sensor as the Death Adder 2013. I think Squeer's already confirmed because I bought him one that it was not the case. Alright. Let's kick out these just shipped out. Hamlet, off the computer. Yeah, you can't be on the computer. It's gonna overheat. We got this furball here. Was sleeping on the little Dell down there, overheating it. You can't do that. So we have, if you can see here, we got Razer, Zowie, Roccat, something special here. More Razer, more Zowie. So what are you guys thinking as the first unboxing? I think the bigger Razer I'll save for later, a little bit later, as it's not actually a mouse. We have a very, very happy Hamlet. You know what, we're going to pop this on the ground here. And so, for cutting things open today, we have Standby Classic. We have the Gerber EAB. If you need a nice, small utility knife that's not much bigger than an actual utility blade, this is what I would say pick up. They're about $10 to $20 usually. This is the second gen EAB Lite. I prefer the first, which is the EAB. I don't know if you can get those anymore though. Then we have my highly recommended. This is the Tuck XL, Tukk XL from Tactical Keychains. If you're willing to spend a bit of change on a knife, highly recommend it. It's even smaller, just ever so slightly, than the EAB, and I feel like it works. It's much smoother. You got some adjustability on the blade. It's much quicker. You don't need a screwdriver or a key or coin to change the blade. It just slides out. They did a very good job designing this. Kind of hard to get your hands on. I did manage to get a new one for work, which is not this one. This is my original one. And I actually bought Square's one. So this would be my recommendation. Then the other thing we have is we have the new one from CW&T. They called the original one their blade holder. Mine actually broke because it was just 3D printed plastic of some kind. And they sent over for testing their beta version in aluminum of their V2. It's a definite improvement. I hope they keep it in aluminum or go with something a bit stronger when it comes to material wise. But we just got some options here. If you use a utility blade a lot or want it available on your belt, take a look at the Tactical Keychains. Really like his stuff. He's a great guy. Helped me pick out some colors and get it working on the last one we got. And otherwise, if you just need something cheap to use every day and don't mind a screw, when you do need to flip the blade around or change it out, take a look at the Gerber EAB. It's been my standby for, I don't know, over 10 years. It wasn't really until Tactical Keychains made this that I replaced it. And these are nice because you can break the blade off real quick and you have a bunch of steps. But this is not really meant to have a lot of pressure on it, the way they made the blade holder, more for just cutting things open, which is what we'll be doing today. We're going to start out with the one I personally knew. Well, as soon as they announced it, I ordered it. Both Squares and I did. And it's finally Zowie's first, I'm not going to say like true update, but update to the oh, we don't want that picture actually. Update to the EC2 in a while. And I say EC2, not EC2B, because they've renamed the EC2B just back to the straight EC2. I don't know why in particular they did that, but they did. And so yeah, we got, it's still in the plastic here. And this is specifically the Tyloo edition EC2. I would say it used to be the Death Adder was my go-to. I'm not going to say like the main mouse I would use all the time, but it was the mouse that, say if I was going to a LAN party back in the day, I would just grab a Death Adder. You know, because I wouldn't want to like undo my main setup or anything like that. So I would just grab a Death Adder. Now I always have a EC2B or EC2 of some kind. Alright, just sharing this out on Instagram. Yes, a red mouse. I don't even know if Squares has opened his yet. He keeps saying that he's just going to put it in a display case and never use it. Even though it should be the best version of the EC2B, or now EC2 yet. Because there would be the Divina, and a lot of people didn't like the gloss finish. I personally liked it. I do have nasty hand sweat though. And yes, it does build up on the mouse with the nasty hand sweat. And you just kind of like scrape it off or wipe it off. The thing is I didn't feel like I actually got a great grip on the standard coating of the EC2B, or A or B, just because it wasn't really textured enough. This one I think I already opened. Or did we open? Okay, I think we might have opened Squares at work, not mine. So I've seen what it looks like. We're gonna hit it up with the CW&T. They're the people that make, if you like high-tech Cs, look at their pen type A, which is kind of like the milled pen that started off all these high-tech C pens. Karas Customs became a thing pretty much because of them. Pen type A was a ruler, pen type B was for a pocket. They just launched their pen type C, which is a bookmark style pen. And they make like little stuff like this. None of it's cheap, just as a heads up, but it's all really well over engineered. So we got the really nice red box. This I'll be keeping since it is a special edition. We got our standard Zowie packaging. I really wish they would update this to be something like Logitech's. We dropped. Sorry about that. Like I said, this, once I get, my desktop is done now. Once I get the other ones down here rebuilt, I can then relegate my backup desktop, not to a streaming PC, but it's a little ITX rig, so I'll easily be able to bring it down here. And it has an 1700X, something like that. Much better. Should be able to actually record in 4K and stream in 1080. So I hope you guys can see it this decently here. We have your standard Zowie packaging. They definitely have enough space to go around the mouse. I mean, I know this is a smaller mouse, and they might use the same box size for the bigger mice. But I feel like they could pretty easily, especially look at the back, there's a track around the whole thing. And that's mainly for packaging, like if something were to dent the box, it shouldn't wreck the mouse. But you could put the cable there. It wouldn't be that hard to do. And that's been shown on Logitech originally, and then Roccat. then it just makes the cable keeps it much less kink. And I don't know if you guys can see this. Hopefully you can, but it's I've been following. How come you didn't pop up in my followers? No idea. Only guess I can think is I don't really stream on the regular, so the fact of the matter is that it's probably not getting pushed. That happens in my YouTube stuff a lot too. There was a time at which I could have been not whatever the affiliate or whatever that is when we were doing all those PC builds for a couple months there, and it's just I don't keep it up because I kind of do stuff when I want to do stuff. Like I have a feeling that this month and next month we'll probably get quite a few streams because some people will be back. I need to get PCs built just to get them like the stuff physically out of here. Not like gotten rid of, but just not gotten rid of per se, but just cleaned up. The easiest way to do that is actually put the systems together. So included in the Zowie EC2 now, not EC2B, is a new set of feet and a Zowie sticker. This I will pull out and keep to the side because I have a special place I put feet, and I do keep all of my stickers in one spot. Someday I will sticker bomb something. I haven't decided what yet. And this thing is looking slick. I don't know how I feel about the gray cable. Maybe they had a bunch left from Divina edition. I also don't like that the serial number is on the cable on the little tag. I remember when Razer, I believe, was doing that for a while. There have been other brands. It does make the bottom mouse very, very clean. Probably makes it cheaper for them to produce, but it's just a flappy bit on the end of the cable, and I find that super duper annoying. And I could tear off, etc. A lot of times with ones like these, I will take a picture of it. That way, if it does get lost or fall off or something, you have it. Now, if you see there's a tight bend there by the ferrite choke, and yeah, if they would have wrapped it around the box, like other brands are starting to do, they wouldn't have that kink there. But I still think Zowie cables are pretty nice for being rubber cables. I remember when everybody praised them, now everybody says they're crap. That's definitely a change in tune. And I can't, like, they feel like nice rubber cables. Just because other people are making better cables doesn't make these crap, in my opinion. Does make them other ones better, though. So this is actually like, it's supposedly the standard, because they did launch a standard black EC2B, or EC2, sorry, and that has a new matte coating. This feels like even different, and in person, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's a very satin look to it, like a very satin finish, like a nice sheen to it, and it's not slick at all. It doesn't have any texture per se. But it does feel far less slippery than the standard black would have in the past. They kind of had like a sheen. I don't know if they had a UV coating on it or what it was. But this mouse looks amazing with this red. As soon as I saw it, wanted to pick it up. And then I could tell from the pictures that it definitely had like a satin-esque finish. Which is, like some people, especially like Squares, he does not like glossy mice. Now, nothing inside of this has been changed. Still is the same scroll wheel, which, in my opinion, they should update to the one in the S1/S2 It's a much nicer wheel. The side buttons are the same. There's a PCB in the bottom. They tilt in, and there's like a foot down here, and it presses, kind of like that. That does not make the back and forward button feel very good. That's the one thing the Death Adder really kind of still has over everybody, is the back and forward buttons on the Death Adder feel as if you're pressing main clicks, because they're that nice. Now, they could redesign and add it. A lot of that's done by adding another PCB in the top that allows you to push right into the switch. However, that would add weight, and this is also not the lightest mouse. So I think it's going to take a pretty big redesign for them to do that, and they're going to have to, it's a bit of a risk to do it. It'd be like using a new engine for Call of Duty. You're not going to do like a major update or change unless you have to, because people like this. Think about it this way too. There have been how many versions of the Death Adder, and only the latest Death Adder Elite finally had DPI buttons. And it realistically should have had DPI buttons ages ago. So, and this is about as zoomed in as I can get. Hopefully it's decent for you. The colors do look a bit, I want to say like washed, from what I can tell. What's our... Oh. That's probably better. Yeah, we want that. Yeah, that should be about as good as it gets. Might be a little bit on the dark side. I can... There we go. Bump it up a little bit for you guys. So this is the first one. Zowie EC2 Tyloo edition. This one's going straight onto my desk, and the Divina is coming off. Not that I dislike the Divina, but it's definitely seen its wear. It's got its grime built up. I'll probably wipe it down, clean it up. And I do like this satin finish. Feels like I got a better grip than... Now, like the glossy ones, actually you get a good grip after you get your hand a little bit, not like sweaty, but like it'll kind of wear into a nice grip. It's better for me than the standard, like, whatever Zowie has. That to me always felt slick, whereas the gloss actually gives you a bit of grip because it's so smooth. Your finger kind of gets in there real good, and this shape is still, like, if you like the Death Adder, give an EC2B a shot. Now, I'm not saying all of you will like it more or better, but it's just slightly smaller, and I can kind of agree with Rocket Jump Ninja a little bit in that regards. Like, I can't in how small he goes with this mice, but like, I would say if you're used to a certain mouse and you know you like it, go find a mouse in a similar size that's just a touch smaller, and you might actually enjoy it, and you might do better with it as well. Some of how small he gets with his is a bit much, if you ask me. Let me grab a drink of, gotta get your Surge, you know. There you go, Surge color for comparison there. I think we're a little bit overexposed now. Yeah. Be able to scoot this a bit forward too. I guess I'd rather be a little underexposed than overexposed. There you go. So this one's going to go off to the side. It's going to go right on my desk. I don't know where to put all these. There's so many mice. legit don't know. Oh, and I usually don't store my mice in the factory packaging. I have these other like little Ziploc, kind of like Tupperware, like the disposable Tupperware I use. Sometimes I've seen with some older mice, the packaging really isn't designed to hold it that long. So you'll actually like have parts of the mouse degrade when it's in the packaging. Not that that won't happen in the like boxes I have. Also, these don't take up a standard size, like even between brands, because they always try to make their packaging smaller, but then you might get a more premium mouse, then they'll make it bigger. So it's not consistent in size, whereas if I go with those like kind of reusable Tupperware, Ziploc, whatever containers, those will be the same size and I can stack them and sort them, etc. It's all about that pluggable gaming mouse. Which pluggable gaming mouse? Yeah, we're still dropping frames. Interesting. But yeah, this will be kept since it's a limited edition box. A lot of the boxes I will take pictures of and then hawk them. So since we're on a Zowie train, the other thing that's going to be going on my desk will be this guy, the Camade 2, which only currently comes in Divina. I got the blue one. I was considering getting pink because of the, I already have the blue mouse, but for some reason with like, I have a lot of wood and or wood grain finished items, I feel like the blue looks better with the, especially the darker woods. Like it has a nice, kicks off real nice with the blue. The pink, not that it's bad, but in pictures the blue turns out really well. Oh, also my mouse pad is that copper color. Blue shows up really nice on that. So I'll go with the tactical keychains. Since Zowie doesn't really seem to have a retail presence, they don't do like the thing where it's got the flap on the top and the hook, and so you still open them from the top, and then you can't actually open it from the bottom. The a lot of the other brands, because they're meant to be hung up on a shelf, you actually end up opening from the bottom. So it's just showing you that there are now two spots halfway. Watching a couple other reviews will put it at the same height as the old one, and all the way out will extend it quite a bit farther, which is an improvement in my opinion. They also seem to have made it heavier than the old one. The base is a bit longer. So this is one where I'll probably snap some pictures of the packaging and then chuck it. Whereas the EC2 Tyloo edition, since it is a limited edition, I tend to keep those boxes around for resale, and you know, because it's not like anybody can take a picture of those. You had to have that mouse. Let's probably hear a bunch of clacking and whatnot. I'm gonna run upstairs and grab my old. Oh, this is actually considerably different than the old one. Be right back. All right, so we got a couple more things here. I grabbed the Divina EC2B here for comparison purposes. It is pretty darn disgusting. Probably only like not even halfway through the feet on the bottom, so that's always good. I think one thing that people don't like about this is that kind of feels like it's always greasy, grimy, and oily no matter how well you clean it. But in a way, that gives you a bit more grip. It sounds kind of weird. But, so this is the one that's going to get retired. The cable might be a little bit different. This cable reminded me of the one from the Miko, which is one of their older mice. Back when Monoprice used to resell their mice in the US before they had really a US brand. So I guess the Camade 2 shows that Zowie could have made matte plastic. I know the gray cable basically seemed the same. Maybe a little bit thicker, but I think it's pretty much the exact same cable. One thing I can tell you is that my white scroll on here is actually dirty. So that's like one downside of that. The little bit of mouse cable that did drag on my pad, pretty hard to see, but it does have. My mouse pad is actually made out of Teflon, so it's actually it's picked up some of the Teflon off the mouse pad, and it's built up on the cable. So this guy's just going to basically get cleaned up, get retired. If I ever need to pull it out for a comparison, I will. On that note, if any of you have the stuff prior to the I have the EC2A, so like straight up OG EC2, or before they had the EC1 and the EC2, they just had an EC series. Monoprice did sell it in the US. I'm looking for those as part of my collection. Either new would be preferred, obviously, but otherwise in good condition, because there are some people that just didn't like those and just still held on to them. So I got a comparison here. Here's the OG Razer. A lot of third parties would knock this off, and you can see it's just not, the base is not heavy enough. This way, tittling forward, you're good, but it lifts up that way. This basic design, though, was improved on by the Camade, or Camade 2, or 1, sorry. So on this one, there's only the base angle, and then like that. It's really well designed. Moving this does not move the base unless you whack on it real good. The new Razer one that replaced this, actually I think there was one that replaced this already that I never bought, but their newest mouse bungee basically copies the Camade. And there is another brand that has this exact design that I actually think is made by Zowie. I forget who it is off the top of my head. So here's the Camade 1, and here's the Camade 2. So the edges on it, instead of being nice and rounded, are far sharper. This does show that Zowie probably made a matte Divina edition, because this is matte. Now, I'm not saying this is the same plastic as a mouse, because the mouse you touch all the time. It will be a different formulation of plastic than this, which you rarely will touch. So now on this, there's the first step, which if we hold up these guys here, that's this is even actually a little bit higher. A little bit less out, but higher than the old one. I also feel like the spring on the new one is much stiffer. It's probably because when extended, it's longer. So that's why the spring's going to be stiffer. And the Razer does have a sticky base that's worn out on here, but there's more tension on the new one. It is longer. The actual thing is considerably larger though. So from this angle, you can see it's less rounded. It's the same shape, but it's just kind of in general the back is longer because there there has to be more room for the longer spring. I would say the biggest other big improvement is the bottom grip for the cable down the back here. That's finally rubber, whereas on this it's just plastic. So if you didn't have a braided cable, it could actually not like wreck your cable per se, but it was just hard plastic. And then at the bottom of this, and if it was too small, it just wouldn't hold it. And that's probably what I ran into most times. Not that it needs to, because the top head actually is very, very good about that. But it's a definite improvement. And I probably wouldn't, even though it has a middle step, I would use it all the way up. Because it's trying to basically get your mouse cable off the surface. Now, that's not the biggest improvement from a bungee. The biggest improvement from a bungee is literally just the fact that it holds your cable. And you're not dragging your whole cable around as you're moving your mouse. That's just fun. It's fun doing it. And both of these will be on my desk. And I would actually, because I usually run 3 to 4, well, usually 3 wired mice, 4 to 5 mice total if you include wireless ones. Kind of all at the same time, I just swap through them. A depth adder is almost always on my desk. That might change now, though, with another item that's in that box. And it's not a mouse, actually, that's changing that. And then there's usually an EC2B. Another wired mouse I'm using at the time, right now, it would be the Sensei 10, because nostalgia, basically, on that one. Then you got, usually I keep some sort of wireless mouse, like a Mamba wireless, and then usually a Logitech wireless too, because those are really reliable. I was running, for the longest time, it was just the 203, because I'm not a huge fan of the G Pro wireless, just a little bit small for me. But now there is the 604, which is, once I can get it programmed and everything, that actually is quite substantial productivity-wise with its additional buttons, and it's a very comfy shape. So, that's what I'm rocking there for now. But both of these will be on my desk. If I end up being able to buy the Razer bungee anywhere but Razer, I'll probably end up getting it. It may come in to Best Buy or something like that over the holidays. That's where I got this one a long time ago. And I never actually ended up using this. I did use a Roccat one that they still sell. I think it's called the... not Turret. They still sell it. I have the USB hub variant of it. But it's just a very short... the actual thing doesn't go over the base. It reaches to the base. So it's more of a little bit of strain relief. If you pull the cable too far, it'll flex a bit. More just holds your cable in place, and you got a USB hub. It's kind of awkward though, because the USB cables all come out of the base out of the side like this. Not if it was down the back 1, 2, 3, 4. That'd be boom, 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 boom. That'd be really cool. Because I don't really need the ability to retract this. I'm guessing that's for people going to LANs. Probably for shipping too. I personally would just leave her all the way extended and then pop a 4-port USB hub down the back. Perfect. Make sure it's powered too. So I went to a more standard USB hub now, and went away from that Roccat bungee just because it was kind of limiting, since it really didn't extend over your mouse pad all that much. Yeah. If you like mouse bungees, or you don't just want to use, I have a weight style one from SteelSeries that just kind of held the cable near the edge of your mouse pad, you can do that. You can just put something heavy on top of the cable so it doesn't keep, because you don't want to, the thing you're really preventing that is helpful, not necessarily you don't really, if you're pulling the mouse bungee a lot, making it flex, that's kind of a last ditch effort. You're kind of doing it wrong. It's more to just keep enough slack on the cable so you're not pulling the whole mouse cable the entire time and moving it around. And right now, because of my setup, I am, so that's why I picked up another bungee. next up, you know what? We'll go with the thing I was saying that's finally going to let me use not a Death Adder. And what I mean by that is just any other Razer mouse. And I was really restricted to anything prior to the Death Adder Elite. The Elite didn't ship with Synapse 3 support. It did later get it, and it forces you to use it now with Windows 10. And why that's important is I run an Orb Weaver. And the reason why that's important is I need to program it. In order to program it, I need to use Synapse 2. That means if I want to program a mouse at the same time and keep them tied together with profiles and such, I need a Synapse 2 compatible mouse. And that super limits me, especially with the Elite being updated to Synapse 3. I'm basically limited to let's see if we can just zoom out. Oh geez, that was not the zoom ring, that's the focus ring. Crap. Oh, wait, what? We were zoomed out the whole time? I'm confused, guys. There we go. Alright. So basically, because of the Orb Weaver, I was limited what my second use with it. Tartarus Pro has finally come out. And I believe, based on price point and being that this has analog optical switches, that this has replaced the Orb Weaver. Not too happy. This is basically the exact same mouse, or not mouse, keypad. If you get, some of you might remember the Belkin Nostromo. They had like the N52 and some various versions of that. Well, Razer eventually bought that and actually just rebranded it as the Razer Nostromo. Then they later had, they actually like gave up on it for a while and made the Tartarus and the Orb Weaver, which in my opinion improved designs. The Tartarus though it was with the older style where you had one less row on top, so it was 3 rows high by 4 wide. Orb Weaver was 4 rows high by 4 rows wide. Or, sorry. 3 rows by 5 rows, and then 4 rows by 5 rows. And I liked the Orb Weaver. Mechanical, yada yada. Some people didn't like that it lost the scroll wheel, if you can see that there. This does have a scroll wheel by your index finger on your left hand. Now, I'll have to get used to this on this because the key that's normally there, which would be key 20, that's what I use for jump. It is not there anymore. So I'm going to have to break like, I don't know. Look, when the Orb Weaver came out, I have to break that much habit of using that key for jump. Jump, 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 because I use that key for crouch and I use that key for jump. That key doesn't exist anymore. So I might have to start using 14, like jump, crouch, jump, because 19's like awkward to hit. So usually I use this key for like activate or pick up, stuff like that. That's usually scoreboard. I might make that jump. It's going to take a bit of no matter what I pick to do, it's going to take a bit of thinking to fix in my brain, because I've just used both when I had the Tartarus and the Orb Weaver, I used that same button for jump. So, you might be like, why don't you use your thumb for jump? Well, I actually use the analog stick, or quote-unquote analog stick. It's like a D-pad with a stick on top. And in this case, it literally is. Some people didn't like the fact that it was a stick before because it was actually hard to hit one of the 4 directions. And I can see that. That's why I don't mind that they went back to like the D-pad with the stick on top. But I can't use what they call space, which would be 20, for jumping if I'm using that for movement. Now, not that you have to use that for movement. I just think it works better for me. That's kind of hard to see with our lighting here. See it a little bit better now. We need to increase the brightness, I guess. This does look... Oh, there are heavy switches. Heavy switches. Oh yeah, we're super duper dark. Alright, so definitely nicely packaged. Nice foam there supporting it, nice foam in the top. Pull it out. They still haven't given an attachable cable. Don't know why that's so freaking hard. Why do I want an attachable cable? That way, if I need a longer cable, I can replace it. That way, if I'm taking it somewhere with me, I can just take it off rather than having to deal with it. Also, if I'm taking it with me, I can leave the one attached to my desktop because these are expensive. These are more than most people's keyboards. $130 usually, or most people's full-size keyboards cost as much as one of those. So I'm not going to, even though I have multiple keyboards and stuff, unless you're super duper duper in them, and I pretty much am, and I have a couple, but I usually buy a new one when I wear out the previous one. You want to take them with you. So it'd be nice with a detachable cable that was just a standard, in this case, Type-C, because everything should be Type-C. I would accept micro B, heck, straight B connection on them. That way you can just unplug it. You can buy your longer cable, for at your desk, and you can unplug it and get a short cable, like a 3-foot, for using at a LAN party, etc. Like, I don't know why they don't think of that. And if anything, these things, if you get used to this for LAN parties, they are great because it takes up a lot of times at LAN parties, at least ones I've been to, like not official ones. I shouldn't say not official ones, but like most of the LAN parties I have aren't like some big multi-100 people or 100 people event. It's like people chilling and hanging out. You know what I mean? Stuff we throw together one weekend, etc. 20 people would be a lot in a lot of cases. But you're always tight on space. So in a lot of times, you'll actually have... Now, if it's not a game you've played before, one downside to the Orb Weaver Life and or the, whatever you want to call this life, is you do have to program all of your keys. So if it's a first time playing a game, you're not going to be using this. But if it's a game you regularly play, and I map all my games to basically be the same controls, like all FPS have the same or similar enough controls. Which makes life grand, because that way you don't have to be like, oh, in this game you use C for crouch instead of control. You just map it to where, like say in FPS 15 is always point your finger right there. You can see it, this guy. It's always crouch. Switch to that from CS instead of using something else. Point your finger because you crouch and crouch, etc. Now this is cramped for my hand because you gotta remember a lot of this stuff is made for kids. That was like my hand was gonna claw itself to death. Now, yes, in this mode I have to stretch and I can only hit the top row with my middle or my ring finger. But usually what's up there is not nearly as important as what's my home row here, is how I set it up. Like, they show using WASD like this. To me, it's very awkward to get to the D-pad when you're doing that. Like, if I'm WASDing like this, my hand is way off. Like, it definitely feels like your hand is designed to be... And if you look, this is offset down. So your hand is really set up to be like this. So unless you use, like, these guys as WASD, which you can do, I just feel like they show that that is WASD. When your hand's, like, all cocked and weird, like it's, at least mine is off to the side like that, I would much rather use these. Now you miss pointer stuff over there. But I would say just use, what I do is I use these guys here, stick for movement. This actually feels really good the thing looking at this, I thought it was like the Nostromo, and like that this was a standard D-pad, like clunky and mushy, but it's not. They have the same. It feels like the same mechanical switches below there that the Orb-Weaver had. So I don't think this is really going to take me any time to get used to when it comes to the adjustment period. Oh. Did they have stabilizers on here or some shit? Yep. They did. Okay, well I already broke it. I already fixed it though too. So that I don't like. I preferred having whatever they had before, but this, I mean, it feels good. The one thing I did like about the Orb-Weaver is you can control where the thumb piece was. I pretty much had it all the way out, but it was just a lot more adjustable. This does feel a lot more solid, however. So, yeah, I'll probably have crouch jump. It's definitely going to take some getting used to. I definitely will not be able to use it in this fashion. I guess that's even worse, unless your hand is tiny. Unless your hand is like, because you want that to support your finger, like you're like just clawed to hell if you're playing with WASD on there. Like, unless you have a tiny little hand, and like I said, big market for Razer is kids. But I almost would have rather not even had that scroll wheel too. And I believe it was Dimitri from Hardware Connects that said, or was one of the guys over at Hardware Connects, I think it was Dimitri though, that complained about this, and there are no steps. Like, you feel friction, but there are basically no steps on this, that's freaking unacceptable. That looks exactly the same. Like this, seriously, I would not be surprised if they went back to the Nostromo and just like modified the mold. I mean, I know this uses the mold from the new Tartarus V2. And they added a row basically. And then it has the mechanical switches. Now this once again does not use standard keycaps. I might be able to put standard ones on, to be truthful, because there's not a stupid plate, I don't think, this time. Yeah, I would actually be able to put, looks like I should be able to put standard keycaps on. I don't have a key puller right now, so I don't really want to rip one off and slap it on here. Maybe I can. Okay, we got an escape key off of my Quickfire Rapid that was in the corner. So, will we get off is the question. I would say it's doable. These keycaps off the Quickfire Rapid are real thick. Here, you can see they're super duper thick by comparison. So it was kind of hooking. If you have something that's a little less thick though, on the thickness of the actual thing, I think it'll be fine. It doesn't have the same issue that the Orb-Weaver had, where there was a plate covering up the top of the switch to make it like the RGB, like just the RGB shine through just that RGB point. And that made it so that unless you cut off that plate, you couldn't use a standard keycap. Just be aware that this is like bottom row, middle row. This is like super flat row. And then this is not top row. It's the second highest row. So it's let's see here. It would be ZAQ1 is what it goes to. So WASD is actually one row lower than it would normally be, if I recall correctly. The profiles are just slightly different because of how your hand is. But this I'm super duper happy about, because I can finally upgrade from my Orb-Weaver. Now I love my Orb-Weaver. It's just it's needed an update for such a long time, and just giving it RGB was not an update. And they actually made the switches worse when they did that, because they went to non-cherry switches. This has the analog switches. I will not be using that feature. But biggest thing, Synapse 3. So I'll now be able to use some of the mice you'll be seeing with this, rather than having to use some Synapse 2 compatible mice. And realistically, for Synapse 2 compatible mice, the only mice I want to use are like the modern enough ones are Death Adder, Death Adder Chroma basically. I was using a Death Adder White Edition. If anybody's got connections for me, I'm trying to get the Pikachu edition, and that should be the Death Adder 2013, if I recall correctly. The Death Adder White is even it's like a 30-50 sensor. It's not great, and it only does 500 DPI increments. Yeah, I'll have to get used to using 14 as jump probably. I usually use Pinky as sprint, so like you just hold that guy down like that. Sprint, sprint, sprint. Pinky stretched is prone. Pinky down is usually some sort of special thing that I don't need to use that often, but it's frequent enough where I can just go down and grab it. Usually where the scroll wheel is jump. That scroll wheel is super annoying. I may or may not use it. Now, if I bind this to mouse wheel, that's good, because a lot of times when I go through the trouble of rebinding this, I actually bind the mouse wheel to something else, like up for 1, down for 2 for switching weapons, like just an insta switch between weapons 1 and 2, instead of like scrolling through all your weapons and stuff like that. So this will allow me to still have a mouse wheel on games that I do that in. The click on it is very light though, so once again, it's going to take me a lot of getting used to not go down there to hit jump. Like I'm just going to instinctively, like I'm going to go climb that. And I guess the bigger thing would be, do I want to move, because I can make my ring finger crouch as well. But I'll have to see I probably use crouch more than I use jump. So the other thing I will say is the end of this is super slippery. That's just like some cheap plastic. There's that is, like the other one was rubberized, this is cheap shitty plastic right here. Like, it just slips. So I'm probably gonna have to find some way to add some grip. Yeah, like even the D-pad on this is just like cheap shitty controller plastic. So if you actually use the D-pad on this, like, I mean, I have somewhat greasy hands, greasy face. Like that's just how I am. But like, it's just like, it's the same hard plastic that's on the body. It doesn't have soft touch like this. It doesn't have a UV coating like the caps. So I'm gonna have to figure out some way to add like a rubber. I think they actually make those rubber caps for controllers. Maybe I can just buy, I can show you from this angle. Here you go. It's this guy right here. This, like the D-pad, if you take the stick off, and the D-pad and the analog stick are the same hard plastic as the shell, which is really not, it's not like a soft touch or a UV coating, so it's not meant to like, it's just, your finger just slips right off like that. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to add grip to it. It is kind of already at the right height, so I don't want to make it too thick. And I know a lot of those D-pad, or like the stick things, do stick your finger out more. So, but that's probably what I'll end up buying. Head over to Best Buy or GameStop, and they make like these little gummy things that stick on the top that make your stick a little higher. They say it's more for more precision or grip, and I'll be using it for the grip side. I actually really don't need the height. And the reason why I would make it more precise by making it taller is basically the left to right motion is now farther, so you're adding basically more distance makes it more precise because you have to move it farther to do stuff. Just went 65 and 15 Battlefield 5. EC2B so too good. Yeah, EC2B is amazing, and yes, these switches are the same switches that are in the what's that thing called? The Huntsman has the clicky ones. These are the non-clicky. They have stabilizers built in the keys, so it's the same one as the Huntsman Tournament Edition, I think. Except they're like you can set the actuation points. Like there's a point halfway and then all the way down. I'm not going to use it for any of that because it's dumb. I'm sorry to tell you that, especially because there's not a click click or something like that. Like if you could tell that you were like actually actuating it differently, that would be one thing. Or if it was like a Hall effect switch where it went from 100% down to 0% or technically 0% to 100%, and then that could act like an analog switch and control your movement. I think in a way this can, but a lot of this is set up to be like, okay, well if you press this, like say if you're pressing forward, it's walking, and then you press it down all the way, it'll do shift plus, or vice versa. Like say halfway it'll be, say for CS you have to hold shift for walking. So until you press it down all the way, it's going to be walking, like holding shift automatically for you. And then when you press it all the way down, it will go to that. Like that's almost like they're making things too complex in that way. But I know the issue with making these switches in analog gamepad, because you could do that in a way with the Orb Weaver. The issue is that some games do not allow mouse and keyboard and controller to be used simultaneously. You may be able to use a controller or mouse and keyboard. So that means that this, if it did emulate a controller, could only emulate a controller. So you're much more limited on the number of keys you can use. Like say you have an analog stick. Well, this wouldn't show up as an analog stick because it's not actually analog, it's digital. So then you have, this will be your analog stick or something like that. And then you got some, like, you couldn't utilize all the keys. And then also, how do you aim? Because if it's a game that actually kicks out the mouse when it detects a controller, well, this shows as a controller, now you have no way to aim. So there is some issues with that. Yeah, Huntsman TE. I was saying that correct. I did get that right. So it's basically the switch from the Huntsman TE, except you actually have, like, it can tell how much you're pressing it down. So, and this, I'm super duper happy about. This is going to get installed immediately. I'm going to back up my profiles from Synapse 2, just in case, and I'll be putting this to use right away. Now, I will say on this model, on the Orb Weaver, it was very easy to go down and hit the spacebar. It was right below this. I think they purposely didn't do that though, because people were, when they would move their thumb around, they'd actually nick that spacebar key. So now in order to this, you basically have to take your finger off of the stick to hit it. And that's why I normally only use this, like I use it for grenade change in games, or like toggle something that's not needed while I'm moving. Like I can pause, toggle it, or say if I'm holding sprint, I can go down and hit it. The other thing that's like a real reach now, and maybe they intend this to be, is this button up here. I don't know what this is used by default. It might be like a profile switch or something. I'm talking about, that's the spacebar down here. It does even have a stabilizer. It's kind of like a super cheesy stabilizer. It's built in the keycap. But this button, that you really have to reach up and press it, and it's not very tactile at all. I use this a lot of times for like entering doors, not picking up items. That's usually like one of these keys, but especially just entering, because I'd already ran straight into the door, so I could just smack that to go in. That button feels like butts. So I have a feeling they don't intend for this to be like it's also not numbered. So I have a feeling that this might be a dedicated profile switch, which is useless in my opinion, since you have software programming of the device that doesn't go with it. So why the hell would I need to change the profile so readily, if you ask me? Maybe somebody can tell me. You know, Tartarus / Nostromo / Orb Weaver users, let me know if like I'll be able to figure out what this is shortly. But like, if I have software profile control, I don't get the point of having a dedicated profile button. Some mice have that as well. It's like, and I can understand if it has hardware programming, but this doesn't. Rage mode disengaged, I guess. Oh, it does have a nice rubber tie that's stuck to the cable. A very nice braided. It is very stiff, but remember it's a keyboard essentially. I just wish Like, here, look. There's a nice big area here. Just put a plug in there. Just, bloop. Done. Plug, unplug, plug, unplug. Then I can leave the cable on my desk. Take this with me. Or take it to another computer. Or take it to a LAN. Plug it back in. Also, 6 foot. Not enough. It's a keyboard. Keyboard should have 10-foot cables. I know 6 foot is the standard. People with gaming computers put it really far away. So that would allow me to buy a... Heck, to be truthful, don't make it proprietary. There's no need to, because there's going to be no strain on this, because this doesn't really move around. Like, it does a little bit, if it's like the Orb Weaver. But heck, if you make it proprietary, it's better than if you don't make it removable at all. And usually I can cut down a cable to fit into the proprietary connector. Like, if you're making a proprietary connector, guys, always remember, make it bigger than the standard one, so you can still take a standard cable and just jam it in there. You know what I mean? It might not have the best strain relief when you do that, but at least it'll still work. Don't do what Razer does a lot of the time and make it so you have to, like, their proprietary cable is actually smaller than the standard one. But yeah, this really should have a removable cable, just like realistically any keyboard should. That's just a standard USB. Just pop that in there, bang bang, go done, unplug it. I will say this is lighter than an Orb Weaver considerably. It doesn't feel, I didn't really see like a metal plate in there. The Orb Weaver was definitely built like a small keyboard. This feels more like a toy. In that way though, because it's built more, not like, I don't want to say cheaply, but more toy-like. I think it will last longer. Because there's less things that can break, if that makes sense. Like, it's just a hollow plastic shell. They definitely put more rubber feet and larger rubber feet, which is good because, especially after I used my Orb Weaver for like 2 years, I forget that the thing is actually, like when I bought my new one a couple months ago, or probably 6 months ago now, which I'm going to keep. I'll probably move it over to GBPC on my secondary rig. I forgot that that's actually not supposed to slide left, right, up, down. Like when I'm using it, like it would kind of move, but you kind of hold in place too. But just because the rubber worn off, because the feet were probably about half the size on top and bottom, and there was a little bit on the thumb. So, this does seem like an improvement, minus the stupid, awful scroll wheel that looks like it's off of like an ancient, like probably the original Nostromo, or like a really old Naga. Like not even the Hex, but like the 2012 Naga, the one where they switched mechanical buttons on the side. That looks like the exact same scroll off of that. That felt more clicky than this did, though. I'm not saying everything has to be chunk, 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 but this is literally like, there's nothing there. And it's not tight enough, or it's not loose enough to free spin, but it's not, there's no steps. So I really don't know what its intentions are, but it's definitely an improvement for me. I'm happy that it exists. I was worried that they just would continue not to update it, even though SN30 is losing support. Because of the few people that actually make this. And some of you might disagree, but Logitech did have out the G13 for some time, and it's just worse. It's not ergonomic. It feels like it's just a flat pad. It's not really flat, but it's... And I mean, there's a reason. It's also rubber dome, but this design where it's kind of like curved and fits to your hand is always better for me. Could be an aluminum plate like the Huntsman T. Yeah, I did see something metal in there, but it doesn't feel like there's actually like that's holding it together probably. Whereas normally everything is mounted to that. I mean, you've built your own keyboard squares, and like. For the most part, everything gets mounted, like the plate is what adds rigidity to that. That does, like it feels rigid, but it's like the cheap toy-like plastic. Like it's like a Nintendo controller. You know, in that way robust. It's because the shell is built well, not because there's like a chunk of metal in the middle, making it decent. Alright, so I went a bit ranty on it's the Tartarus Pro? It's not the V2 Pro. Confusing because it's really a V2 Pro'd, not a Tartarus Pro. Because the Tartarus is like not very good. It's like a cheapified orb weaver. It was comfy, but did you buy a Huntsman TE? I don't remember if you did or didn't. So here's something also that will go. This I didn't even know was coming out. Somebody at work supposedly told me that it was all over Razer's Instagram. I follow Razer's Instagram and their Twitter, and Minlane Tan on Twitter has me blocked for some reason. So I don't get to see any of his stuff. And I don't get that either, by the way, because I, for the most part, only I criticize, of course, but it's because they have products I like. You know, when you make a product worse, knowingly, or maybe not knowingly, but like, if you have a product, it's like the Pixel 4, man. That's what I have to say about the Pixel 4. Is, you know, Razer's done stuff like that before, where like, you know, they take a great product and they make it worse. And it's like, why'd you do that? It makes no sense. And they'll make also, like, they have very, very good products. And, like, certain, I mean this specifically, like, certain very, very good products. And then they just, like, derp on everything else. Like, I don't know how, but they do. They just derp, 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 derp. So, let me take a quick picture of this EC2 box. So what we have here, this is one that somebody was trying to tell me that was on Razer's, and I was trying to look really quick on their Instagram. As far as I can tell, they haven't even announced this yet. Like, people have it. I have it. Squares has it, because I basically bought him one. And that is the new Basilisk X Hyperspeed. I don't know if this is based, like, I haven't tried the Basilisk Essential. I think that's the same shape. This, however, is not. It's also the Hyperspeed part of it means it's wireless. What? A wireless mouse from Razer that's a Basilisk? It's got to weigh 86 million pounds. I mean, the Basilisk originally weighed a little bit less than the original 502, and the 502 wireless still weighs like a lot wireless. Even if it did lose a lot of weight. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Sorry. Wanted something to drink. Wanted a beer. Was out of beer in the basement. Had to go upstairs. Got ourselves some stuff. That there is the Basilisk Hyperspeed. Am I all the way zoomed in? Yeah, okay. I could use the other lens and yada yada yada. Like, we could be doing this better. But this is kind of like generic whatnots. Oh, and on my rant of bad mice, the Razer Lancehead. Like, either they got that mouse shape from somebody else, or they didn't care because it was knocked off within 6 months by other like major brands like Cooler Master, and other like Chinese brands within a year, like really Chinese knockoff brands, and even the Basilisk. I think Bad Sea Tech had a recent video on a knockoff. Of that. It was, and they like removed the thumb part. I forget what was the one I didn't like before the Basilisk. Not the Basilisk, the Lion's Head. It's the same sort of idea. It was not very good. I like the smaller version of it. That ended up being the Crate 2013. So, this is one of the reasons why I have the AAA batteries and the AAA to AA adapters. Basilisk Hyperspeed. Ultra long battery life. Razer mechanical mouse switches. I mean, I hope so. Onboard DPI storage, good. So that means onboard memory. Any of the Synapse 3 mice should have it, and they have a profile button on the bottom usually. Now, I will say that this specifically just says DPI, not profile storage. So, I think also this thing is, I don't know, not that much money. 60, Lanchness? Yeah, the Lanchness was not very good. That's but then they had people loved the original Crate and they killed it off. People like the Diamondback and the Copperhead, man. Those were good. And then they followed it up with garbage. For the longest time, the only thing I could recommend from them was Death Adder. And then they were screwing with the Death Adder when they made the Elite. They upgraded the main clicks, quote unquote upgraded. They were already plenty good, and they made the side clicks way worse. Just cheap side clicks rather than good. As good as main click side clicks. I should probably finish reading this. 25% faster. I no idea what that means. Faster than what? 25% faster transmission speed than any other gaming mouse. Information accurate at time of printing. Sure. Razer advanced 5G optical sensor. I don't remember what it is. It's a thing. I hate when they do the 5G TM. Hero makes sense for Logitech because every time they say Hero, they mean the same sensor. When SteelSeries when Razer says 5G, they don't mean the same sensor because it's Mobile Wireless. Ta-da! 5G, different sensor. They did that with the 4G sensors on their older mice as well. Some were dual sensors, some were not dual sensors. Onboard DPI storage. So once again, they state DPI, not profile. So that's fine with me because that's all I really need to store for the most part anyway. Because if I'm going to program a mouse button-wise, I'll use local software. 6 programmable buttons. See, it specifically does not say those store on the mouse. And that I think part of that would be that this is actually also Bluetooth. You can see right there. Bluetooth. Hyperspeed. So it's both USB and Bluetooth. It's going to be perfect for my new laptop. You guys have probably not seen the video yet, but I did buy the new Razer Blade Stealth late 2019 GTX edition. Basically, it's the new Razer Blade Stealth with the 10 nanometer Ice Lake, I think it is, CPU, but 10 nanometer Intel with a 1650 graphics card. Perfect for me. Ultrabook. Amazing for what it is. Keyword, for what it is. A lot of people are like, that's super expensive for that amount of performance. Yeah, it's also smaller. It's an Ultrabook. It's like MacBook Air sized. Maybe not Air. MacBook sized with a full dedicated graphics card. And a proper one at that. Ultra fast Razer Hyperspeed, ultra long battery life. They claim 450 hours. Don't know. 2-year warranty. That's pretty good. A lot of, and that's, I think, it's starting because of the European Union. I think they require 2 years. So I'm starting to see that where, it'll start bleeding over into the U.S. Normally, because U.S. products only have a 1 year, and they're not technically even required to have a 1 year manufacturer warranty, which is why, Microsoft and their controllers only have 90 days, even on the Elite controller, that's $1 billion. So, with this guy, the Basilisk X, we're going back to the OG Razer stickers. These do look a bit more neon than the older ones, like the green does. I think it's a bit darker green on the older ones. But the newer style is the chroma, black with chroma around it, you know what I mean? And you got the Intel-esque, if you esque badges. So we're going back to the OG. Technically this is a cheaper mouse. I actually don't know how expensive it is. $60 maybe? 30 supposedly, according to the squares in the chat, for those of you not watching, because I don't have it up. So Squares is saying, though, 450 hours in Bluetooth. 250, 290 hours with dongle. Cool. It uses a 3369. Realistically, ever since the 3310, it's been good enough. The 3050, which is in that Death Adder white, where it only has 500 DPI steps, that's kind of rough. Let's see. Let's go to Best Buy's website, because that's where we got these. Just happened to see them, and I told Squares to grab them both, and we bought them. And $60 for standard price of that. And it is not the standard. So they have a Basilisk with like chroma down the side. Okay. There's actually something called a Basilisk wireless, optical wireless, that has a built-in battery, and it has that same dock that the new Viper wireless has. I wonder if it has the adjustable scroll wheel. Okay, that is not this. This I prefer. It looks like the original Basilisk too, so that's going to be the bigger, heavier one. Oh, you don't even know that yet. This is a smaller mouse that's lighter. That's the key thing here. And for Squares' sake, they got rid of the sniper button, even though I don't know if anybody actually uses sniper buttons for sniper buttons. Mamba. Check the Mamba. Mamba wireless. Ooh, there's Gears 5 Mamba wireless. That's what I'm really hoping, is to make a new Mamba wireless that isn't the Hyperflux. There's 2 new Basilisks. Yes, I'll link Reddit page with more info. Okay. I think this is better buy already without even seeing the other one. And that might sound ignorant, but the reason why I say that is because the other one's going to be a crap ton of money. I think it was 100 and a lot of money. 100 and a lot of money, yes. $170. $170. That is more than a Viper wireless. Holy, like, lot of money. That's what that is right there. Holy lot of money. So, in here, very simple packaging. Just like the 305 and the 203 from Logitech, we have in this little foamy slidey dude, we have the Basilisk. It's not the Essential, it's the Basilisk X Hyperspeed. I don't know if they're calling it the Basilisk X Hyperspeed or if they're doing Basilisk X Hyperspeed. So X is used as in like Japanese anime and like that's just in their stuff. X is used with like crossovers. That's what the X means, like a crossover essentially. So it's like this artist with that artist, or that anime with that anime, is like used as like a crossover or with, like a term with. I'm thinking that's how they're using it, because I don't think this is like the Basilisk X Hyperspeed. Maybe it is. I might be wrong, because I don't know their whole lineup. You know, I need to get this battery out. Did they like build this thing indestructibly? Is there like a cable in there or something? No, there's no cable. Dang, that thing is wedged in there though. I wonder, can I just push it down? How did they get this battery in here in the first place? Yes, I'm struggling with a battery, guys. I got it up. I broke it in the process. I broke the box. Now, here's another way that they I'm not gonna say cheaped out. Some people might say that. They didn't include the stand I never used. They didn't include the extension I never used, because I already have that stuff. In a lot of cases, I more bought this to be used in Bluetooth with my new laptop. Now the nice thing is though, is this thing is actually super duper light. What you do is you take this standard alkaline, get rid of it. what you do is come over here. You get your AAA to AA adapters. Oh, first off, back pops off. Nice little magnet guy. You have your USB and a spot to put it, which is important, especially if you're using this in Bluetooth mode, because you don't want to lose that. That's bad. Losing that is bad. Any brand that has a wireless mouse with a dongle that doesn't have a place to put it, I'm looking at you, G502. You have a place to put it, but it doesn't stay there. It rattles around like a madman. Whereas all the other Logitech mice that have a place to put it, it doesn't rattle around like crazy. And the 703 still does not have a place to put it. Now, there is no profile button on the bottom. Once again, that's hinting towards profiles not saving. Like they say, programmable buttons. I have a feeling the programmability will not carry over because of the Bluetoothness. They just didn't do that. There is no foot around the sensor. There's there's a spot where there could have been one, but they saved. Like, this is definitely a cut down mouse. I appreciate that though, because I love 305, and that is a cheap mouse. And I'm not saying I love it because it's cheap. I love it because it's a good mouse and it's cheap. Now this isn't cheap at $60, but it is not expensive compared to Mamba Wireless is $100. The all of Logitech's ones that aren't one of the SEs you're going to be seeing later, that's 50%. Those are 50% off brand new for some reason, because they're like rebadging an older model. Those are like $100+. And what we did here is we went AAA to AA adapter. I'm not doing the crazy thing that Square suggested and using tin foil. I have adapters. They're fine. Don't need to shave up another gram. Even just using a lithium AA, like if you don't want to, like if you really want longer battery life, you can go to a lithium AA. From what I've seen, the lithium AAAs will get you the same life or better than a standard alkaline AA. If you are fine with still being considerably lighter, but you want even longer battery life, you can go with and that way you don't have to buy adapters and stuff, though these were super cheap on Amazon. You can just go with a lithium AA, and it'll still be lighter. I found that out years upon years ago. I did a weight test back on Linus Tech Tips when the G602 launched. And this was before a lot of mice were going wireless with AA's. And the reason why I did the testing on that was, I knew they were already lighter. That was also the first mouse I can remember that could run on one of two batteries. Like, you didn't have to have both in there. Now, if you notice on the 604 that replaced the 602, they didn't even bother putting in both batteries because they get long enough on one battery that they don't need that in there. I think they were pushing to have like a super long battery life. They were worried about it not being long enough. This is definitely a smaller mouse. This Basilisk X Hyperspeed. It's definitely a smaller version of Basilisk. There is no sniper button. I feel like it's a nice grip on the, like, it just feels like a quality mouse. Razer does a very good job with the plastics. They just, I don't believe they're coated. It's just a nice texture. Or if they are coated, I've never had coating come off, so I can't really tell that it's been coated. Because the clicks feel like the same texture as the rest of the body. It's just they have a very nice texture. The rubber grips on here are like full rubber grips that mold the entire thing, which is important because some of the other ones don't do that, and a lot of other brands don't do that, and then you have issues. I will say the butt on this, this is definitely more for a fingertip palm grip than a palm grip. Like the Basilisk original was definitely like more like the 502, which is on the smaller size for a palm grip, and did trend towards fingertip, but it had a butt on it on the Basilisk. This, in my grip, you can see that technically where my palm is back here, I would have to jam it like that in order to put it in my palm, and then my fingers go way over, and the top is not. I'm way over the switches because the switches are generally right next to the scroll wheel because that's what PCB is. I'm off camera. Tinfoil, do it. Get nights. Yep. See you at work tomorrow. So I was doing that a bit off camera, but with the way I hold this with my palm grip, it actually ends up being with this mouse more of a fingertip grip style because it is a smaller mouse than the standard Basilisk. You can tell that by basically I have room in my palm right there. Now if I were to grip up on it like I know Squeers is going to, then what you get into is when you force it into a palm grip, it'll actually probably be a better claw than it will a palm grip mouse. Because you can see here that this isn't touching. For a palm grip, normally like a full-size palm grip, both would touch, but this feels like a nice, smaller version of the Basilisk. Like if you felt like the Basilisk was a little heavy, a little too big, I would say look at this before you look at the much, much more like $170 expensive. Oh, and it's RGB-less. Amazing. That's another thing I liked about the 305, wireless 305. No RGB, it's not wasting anything on lights. Makes it lighter. Just simple and to the point. Nice shape, good weight. Like this is lightweight. Like, and it has Bluetooth in it. Think about that. You have, like, I haven't used this thing yet because it's brand new. But from like as soon as we pulled this out of the box, at work, after we picked them up, like I could just tell right away that this was gonna be like Razer's version of the 305, even though it's not like their physical version of the 305. The scroll wheel feels really good. They hollowed it out so it's lighter. It's probably actually cheaper for them to make too because it's not metal, it's just plastic with some rubber on it. But like this whole thing feels good. I do feel like the side switches tip in like they do on the EC2. So it's probably pressing a PCB down at the bottom. That's probably for weight. Now it does have, this feels really kind of mush too. So this might be super long and pressing something way down in there. I would have to wait for a teardown. I don't plan on tearing mine apart. Just because, and like this they could have filled in because there's no reason to have that. That would have then split up the feet so it could be one big foot. That's what I would have done. But it does keep the standard Basilisk look. Like all the Basilisks have that cutout there. And the new wireless one has to have that for its charging port. But this is the one. Especially if you... Basilisk shape was either a little bit big, a little bit heavy for you. Give this guy a shot. It is cheap for what it is. It's got wireless. Razer's wireless is actually good now. The Mamba wireless has been flawless for me. Could have been a little bit better life, but wireless-wise, it has been flawless for me. Because in the past, Razers either have like kind of crappy wireless or their batteries drain like instantaneously. Yeah, this mouse I grabbed it and I'm just like super duper hyped. So I'm gonna have this Bluetooth to my laptop, and I can even have the USB in my desktop. So I may just have one mouse for the two of them for a while as I use this. So it'll probably be this mouse. Now it is non-programmable, so which I'm fine with since it's Bluetooth and wireless, but I will probably have a wired, or maybe the Mamba wireless that I can program, set up to go with that Tartarus Pro that you see. But yes, I'm so hyped about, like, I didn't even know this thing was in existence, to be truthful. And when I found out it did, we had no idea what it was till we opened it up. But, like, all the things said it was good on there. Like, not like it had a lot of good things going for it, is what I was trying to say. That box also I'm not going to keep. Same thing with Tartarus Pro. There's no reason to hold on to these boxes that are pretty much, like, I mean, I'll keep them, take pictures of, like, all the sides, essentially, with my good camera. The one we're actually streaming this from right now. Good, quote-unquote, it's a Panasonic G7. But, you know, better than cell phone camera, before I toss them out. And then at some point, if I either need pictures of the mouse, like high-resolution ones, I'll take the time to take them. Otherwise, when I find time, I will take pictures. By then, sometimes, though, these get pretty raw. But it's still close-up pictures of the mouse that are pretty high-resolution. I usually light them pretty well. To get the more important part is the profile, the size, the, you know, all that sort of stuff. But the Tartarus Pro, that's a thing for me because I like using gamepads. Have for a long time. Took a while to switch to it, but I always felt like my thumb wasn't doing enough on a keyboard, and it's now doing enough. I can tell you that much. Yeah, and you can tell that this is a more budget mouse once again, just because the packaging is much simpler, which I'm perfectly fine with. It's a tiny package. You gotta remember, packaging is not only about like how costly it is to make the actual package. Remember, a bigger package is more expensive to ship, so logistics is higher. So a small package like that makes sense for a cheaper mouse. I also am guessing that with the wireless, it's going to be a more expensive mouse. Margins might be less, etc. Yeah, everybody's just saying that the Basilisk is their answer to the 502 Lightspeed, which it is. It's lighter as well. Yeah, I probably won't be getting... I have the 502 wireless. If there's a way to... Because, like, with the... Viper, supposedly there's a way to buy it without having to buy the dock and everything with it. However, I haven't actually seen that be a thing anywhere. Like, it's always the ultimate version that has, like, it's not just this one. Like, they supposedly sell a version that doesn't have all the extra fancy shit with it. That's just the Viper wireless. I have not, however, seen that yet. And, like, I don't need the Viper wireless ultimate, which is on order. Should be here shortly. As well as the Basilisk ultimate. As well as the, you know, because that's going to give me like 15 different Razer USB docks and chargers. Like, and I really don't need the charging dock. Especially with how long these battery lives. And I don't game 24/7. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but I can't game 3 days in a row. And it's like, it's fine. I also have a bunch of mice, so a lot of times if a mouse dies, I can just grab another mouse. And I still, if I'm gaming real hard, I usually still go to the EC2B. So that's the thing. So, are we dropping frames like a madman? Yeah, we're dropping frames. I'm gonna have to lower the stream quality next time. Alright, so let's zoom this puppy out. Out to 18. Finishing up this beer, I'm gonna grab another one. Yeah. This guy's going on my desk right away. Gonna be setting up my new laptop with that as well. I mean, I probably shouldn't be recommending this thing so heavily already, being that I haven't used it, but like, just based on feel, packaging, like, I think they nailed this. As long as the wireless works and we know the sensor's already decent. $60. Really nice mouse for $60. Especially with the addition of Bluetooth. And we might have to pick this up another day. I got another half hour. But I'll leave it set up. Alright, so next we have another wireless mouse. The Roccat. I still don't know how it's Roccat. It's in my opinion, Roccat. Roccat. And it's got a cat. See? Roccat. It's actually Rocket. I think the double C means like a K is how you're supposed to pronounce that. But this is the Kain 200. I was still within return policy on my Kain 120. I really wanted the Kain 100, which does exist, except it's not out just yet in the black and white variant. So that I'm waiting for that one to come back in stock. And and I like the shape. The Kain. The reason why I like to give Roccat a look, and this might sound a bit weird, is they actually make new shapes. They actually make new shapes, and this Kain is actually a new shape. Like, realistically, say for like the Mamba, that's always existed. The 502 from Logitech was a new design. The Basilisk was Razer's rip on the 502. That's not bad, but a lot of these brands now, Final Mouse, Glorious, all these other ones, they're taking like existing shapes that are good, making a slight enough change that they won't get in trouble, and pushing it out. Or say that like the sub $20 mouse I have, where there's somewhere between an IntelliMouse 3.0 and a Death Adder, like somewhere in that vague in between there. The Roccat Kain is actually a new shape, and it's a good one, and the mouse is good. Roccat always uses very good quality parts. I'm not going to say it's just because they're German, but I've had very good luck with, cherry-made stuff. Germans make good stuff, and then if they team up with Japanese for parts, man, you get the best of both worlds. So, excuse me. I don't know if this uses Omrons for the clicks or not. Omron, so yeah, it does. So it's Germans designing a mouse with Japanese parts. Like that's about as good as it gets when it comes to design and reliability. Now, Kain 200, Squares did pick this one up as well. I think he's taking it back because that Razer one just came out, and he picked that up, and that's much to his tastes more than the 200. Also, the 200 did gain a bit of weight when it went wireless. Nothing as bad as the SteelSeries 600 or the 650 or anything. It's still right around 100 grams, I believe. Brain farting here. 105 grams. So 100, 110 is fine to me. Cooler Master did a dumb thing where they added that 10 gram weight in there to keep it either at right at 100 grams or just over. Now I still think right around 100 grams is 90 to 110, I would say, is my optimal. You can go a bit lighter than that. I like mouse lighter than that. Just not for me. At least currently. I've always been good with the anything once you start getting over 110 gets girthy. Gets a bit chonk, one might say. So in here we have manual, paperwork. This cardboard on the front is very, very reminiscent. There's a cardboard piece right here. That's what keeps the cable in the track here. That is very, very reminiscent of Logitech's packaging on some of their newer stuff. And if you notice, they also wrap the cable around in that same way. Now, I'm not saying it's from the same OEM, but it sure seems like the same OEM. Now, once again, we have dock for the USB with a proprietary cable. This one does seem bigger than standard, however. I, however, have cut down a micro B to basically be just the connector, and I just plug it in and charge it. So, that's what I'll be doing. This cable and this dock aren't going to get used. They're basically going to get tossed in a bin of these that I have. Because, and I'm not saying this is bad quality or anything, and the 200 is a bit more of a price premium product. And if you're looking for that higher price premium, I can see why you would include that, because it doesn't cost you that much more to include it, especially when it's micro B and not Type-C. And doesn't cost that much more since it's micro B to Type-C. And say if people don't have one on their desk already, I just think it's dumb, because here they expect you to use this mouse for charging and it for the dongle. This is real hard to get out of here. Not super easy. So you have to pick this up, yank it out the back. Like, they have it set up like you're supposed to like hold this down and like push it out. Like, that's how that's designed to be. It's not happening. This is too lightweight. And you're just gonna yank it out like that. Like, the little rubber will help it stay in your desk a little bit, but and I know why they do this. I don't know because I haven't tested it on Rocket's mouse, but I did test this back in the day with the G700S, and then later the 900, maybe? Somewhere in there, Logitech stuff. So, the reason why they only give you one cable, and they use the dock, basically because you're unplugging the USB adapter that would be in here when you unplug it to plug the mouse in, right? That's because otherwise, I have definitely seen this, Logitech did get around it. It still existed as two products. See, this doesn't have a place to put the USB. See? So use the same bottom of the mouse as the Kain 120 and probably 100, or very similar bottom of the mouse. They should have not done that. They added a pairing button and they added on-off toggle. They should have added a hole in the bottom to put the little USB dongle in. So now the main reason why this exists is so you have something big to not lose your USB dongle. Because otherwise you're losing your USB dongle. You're just going to. I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. I don't remember what sensor this is in here. It's a lower end sensor than the one in the Kain 120 though. So if you want a lighter mouse with a, like, and you have to have the best sensor, the 120 has the best sensor in it. And it's lighter because it doesn't have to carry a battery. I'm more into the wireless now. Wireless freedom, especially because it doesn't suck nowadays. And back in the day, I even used it when it sucked. So I can tell you all about that. And realistically, I was under the G700 for a long time. And then the G602 came out. Side buttons on here are a bit mushy. I don't remember them being this mushy on the 120. Main left and right click are freaking amazing. Nice and instant, like there's no pre-travel basically. There's post-travel, but not that much. There's supposedly a tensioning system that Squidge was explaining to me while we were talking about some of the stuff at work. Since we actually work at the same time now, since my job has changed. So yeah, and then this scroll wheel is just beautiful. Here, let me get you guys zoomed in here. But yeah, this scroll wheel on the Kain series, oh, so chunky, so steppy. It could have a couple less steps, I think, but like it's so good. I would probably, to be truthful, if you guys are looking at a mouse like this, just from a price perspective, pick up the 120. If you're looking at performance, I will be buying the 100 because I want the black or the white one because it has black accents on it. It looks really cool. And they textured the sides, and I'm not a huge fan of this like soft touch hard plastic. It's very similar to Zowie's way of doing things, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. And the 100 seems to have very rough textured sides, so I'm super into that. And as soon as because we can get I think I can order a 100 through Best Buy, but it's not. They're out of stock of the white ones. I don't think they're technically out of stock. I bet they haven't gotten stock yet. But once I can order a white Kain 100, I will. And Squares and I will probably do a video because he still has his 120. He returned his 200 for the Basilisk X, whatever, Hyper, whatever. And I returned my 120 to get the 200. Now, we could have just swapped, thinking about that now, but none of that was planned. So, yeah. So this, basically, USB extension dude is just going to go and live in my box of USB extension hub things. So I can give them to people when they don't already own one. I use a USB hub now. That's just stay on my desk. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe, and then 2 Type-C on the bottom. It's being very unhappy though when I plug in storage devices. It kicks all the mice off, which is, I gotta figure out why that's happening. But yeah, this needs a spot, or at least like a magnetic thing or something, like someplace. Yeah, if you have somebody that has a new Kain, not a new Kain, there haven't been a Kain yet, give it a shot. I think it's a great shape, nice and like, it's got a bit more thickness to it, yet it's thin. So, like it's definitely a right-handed shape. It's very curved to the right as well, but it's maybe a little bit chubby in the middle. Like I'm thinking Roccat Jump probably won't like it all that much because it's a bit probably wide for his grip / hand. But if you have like a palm grip or a palm, especially like a palm fingertip, like if you have a palm grip, you can really get it going in there too. It's just a good shape that I consider to be unique. Like I don't think anybody else right now, like they didn't copy this shape from anybody as far as I can tell. And I own a lot of mice. This is actually a new shape, which are hard to come by nowadays. Good clicks, like really good clicks. They've always had solid clicks, like because they always use good mechanics in there. That scroll wheel uses an Alps, so chunky, and then the DPI is a very flat, mushy button. But I think that's because they want to have it require a lot of force to actually, you don't want to unintentionally hit it. There is some of the mice that actually have that wing on it. I think it's the Rival 600 might actually have it, so you can actually purposely hit it without doing that. For the most part, I think people gaming nowadays, they'd rather set their sense in-game, so when they scope in, it automatically drops the sense if they do that. Rather than back in the day, you didn't have that option in the game engine, so you would actually have to manually... and I don't think anybody did use the sniper button like you held it down, because having to pinch the mouse and move it adds a lot more stress to it. But I've used toggle DPIs in the past before, where you toggle between 800 and 400. So you split 800 a lot. Or say 1600 and 400, and I use 1600 for the desktop and 400 for games now. Is pretty much what I do. But I otherwise set it to 400, 800, 1600. So a little bit step down with the sensor in the Kain 200 here. Wireless though, a little bit heavier, probably because it's got the battery in there. Downside, no place for the dongle. So then I can see them definitely giving you this thing, because it's going to be a lot harder to lose. Technically, if you're going to use it the way that they intend, think of that as the dongle, like the full USB guy, rather than just this dongle. And I could do some testing, let me know if you guys are interested at all, to see if I leave the dongle plugged in someplace and plug the mouse into the computer. Most of them are smart enough to hey, even though it stays connected, so it'll instantly reconnect when you unplug it, it will only send stuff over the wired connection once it's on wireless. But a lot of times it will show up a duplicate device, or in many cases, because not maybe this mouse, because it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus a DPI. This probably just shows up as a mouse. But a lot of the Logitech ones, in order to have their programmability and all that stuff, they show up as multiple mice and sometimes even keyboards. So it'll duplicate all of that when you plug it in via LAN. Or LAN, yeah, you plug it in via LAN. Plug it in via wire. And that can cause issues. Now Logitech did it so like it stops sending over wireless when it's plugged in. Not every brand might do that though. Like they probably just think, oh, if we design it so like you shouldn't be plugging it in while it's plugged in wirelessly. Brands have definitely not considered people doing what I do, and just I have a USB hub or an extension, like just a generic one that I use, rather than proprietary. And that's also why I said this hole here should be, like, you should make your proprietary connector bigger than a standard micro B connection. That way, if you run into a pinch and you need to use a standard micro B cable, you can stick whatever you need to do in there, or whatever you have in there to charge it. Because, like, say you went to a LAN and you forgot this. You're screwed if that dies. That's what I get. Now, if you make this connector bigger, like, say that's a bigger connector than the standard micro B, or I think everything should be Type-C now, what that then allows you to do is, because a standard micro B is smaller, it'll still fit in. Even though it's not the most optimal and you really shouldn't game with it, you can at least charge it and, you know, keep going. So, just ideas. And USB-C is much more regulated than the connectors on micro B, so it shouldn't even, like, they could just use a standard Type-C cable. You know, and Type-C cables are expensive, because, like, they're still hand soldered. They can even be like, hey, it uses a standard Type-C cable. We're not shipping it with it. Like, that's a standard thing over in Europe and Asia. If it uses a standard charging cable, they just don't ship a charging cable with it, because it's standard. So just ship, like, do like you did with the Basilisk, and just ship, even if it needs to be charged, you can just ship it with a USB adapter instead of having proprietary stuff. Alright, we got about 10 minutes left here, and I have one item left in this box. I have a stack of items behind the camera that you guys can't see. We're going to have to hit those up tomorrow or another day. They're not as exciting as all of these. Actually, we should hit one of them up. Yeah, and I know they want to do the, like, oh, you know, if you run into a pinch, you can still use it, and you forget to charge it, you can still use it in wired mode, sort of thing. Nobody does that. I mean, not nobody, but the percentage there, I'm pretty darn small. I would much rather that they made it proprietary, made it easier to charge. Not make it non-proprietary, sorry, and make it easier to charge than proprietary, and better to use as a mouse wired. Because if you're going to use it wired, you're going to buy a wired mouse. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's my thoughts. Let's take a picture of the Kain 200 here. There we go. You're going to see some stuff going up. This also just going to get chucked once I get some pictures. One thing to be aware of with the Kains, I haven't tried the 200. I think Square said it's a little bit dimmer. The 120 is legitimately blinding. I actually put a piece of electrical tape over the back RGB because I haven't had time to install the software. Like, it is legit, like if you have dim, not even like lights out, just dimish lighting in your like room / office, it will blind the ever living crap out of you. This one just launched today, as far as I'm aware. Nothing too spectacular about this. It is just a G502 Hero, but it's the SE. I think that means special edition. The big thing is that this is the, it doesn't say special edition on this. On the keyboard, on the SE version of the keyboard, it did say special edition. There is a, I tweeted about it, so if you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's at TheProfosist. I showed like the whole display of it, and you really don't want the 903, as the 903 is actually like, it's a 903 SE, but it's not the 903 Hero in SE form. Like, this is the 502 Hero SE. So it's the 903, just SE'd, or it might even be the 900. Like, they say 903, but it's like the older model rebranded as Special Edition. As far as I can tell, there's nothing special about it. There's actually might be less cables and packaging and stuff. They do ship 50% off. Brand new on the shelf right now. So if you're looking for a 502, I wouldn't really, like I said, buy the 903 because it is that's not the Hero Edition. The Hero Edition, you get the better sensor and the better battery life. So, I did already crack this one open right after I bought it. Because I was interested in this white look. That's why I bought this. I also don't have a G502 Hero. I have a original G502. And then I have a Spectrum, which if somebody's looking to buy a G502 Spectrum off me, let me know. Heck, I might even give it away at some point. Just have to pay shipping. Got the weights in here. Never put these in the G502. Done. Plug it in. Download G-Hub. Hate G-Hub. Preferred Logitech gaming software. This is some dang nice strain relief on there. You got that right. That's for sure. Okay, once again, if you didn't see it, because I kind of like unboxed it really poorly, I'm getting a bit tired. It's almost 3 a.m. here. It was wrapped around here. Not as big of a loop because this box is smaller than the Kain's box. Same idea though. On these special edition ones, I think are for the holidays, which is probably why they're coming out of the gate cheaper. So they have cheaper packaging. It's like this really cheap plastic. Snaps together though, makes a little clamshell thing. There's a little cardboard box in there reinforcing it. Like Logitech does a good job designing their packaging nowadays. They didn't always do it, but ever since like the, I want to say like the 302, I want to say, maybe the 402. It's been designed pretty well. Normally I'd open this up from the bottom, but this is one of the ones that can't be, even though it has a tab. Normally, the easiest way to open up mice is from the bottom, even though your first idea would be to open up from the top, because the top has all this complex, like flippy flappers and taggy doodads, and you know, like see, it's all complex. The bottom is usually just a single flap. The reason why they have to do this really complex on the top is people stealing. Much harder to get this open. You're gonna make a much more scene doing that, but also. Like without this tab there, watch when I pull this up, even that comes off. So that's a piece of tape's there. Now, if this was just a flap, like on the Kain or the EC2, like it didn't have that like the whole mechanism of the side pieces and like this piece and see, even if that tape comes undone, it still can't. It'll open a little bit like that, but it won't actually like fall off the shelf. If you just have a flap, with a thing here, and there's no like overlapping, etc. It will, if the tape gets broken or cut, or say you have to open it for some reason, or it's an open box, gets put back out there, or just wears open, it'll fall off, and it'll just fall in the thing, and it looks awful. So there's two reasons for the fancy top flap is both to reinforce it to better for the hang tab, and make it harder because the normal person is going to open up the top of the mouse. And the reason why a lot of these major brands have also went to this folded bottom is because on other brands, do I have one like that right now? Kain. So if you look at the Kain, it has just a standard bottom flap. You slice that open it up, I'll even do it, so I don't really care. Nope. Hold on. So if we just go here, watch. Bam, done, open. Pull the whole thing out, you got your mouse. So like that's how I normally open my mouse boxes if it's available. Is because it's way cleaner to open it when there's less of those flippy flappy tabs and whatnot. However, brands are getting away from that because that is way easier to steal. One little cut, the whole thing comes open, etc. So a lot of them are going to this folded bottom where there's actually no way to get that apart without. That's even more of a fuss to get this apart than it is this flappy stuff up top. So we got the 502 SE. Let me snap a picture of that. This 502 is probably just going to go straight in my collection. Just because I do have a 502 wireless. Like, if you're super into the 502, buy the 502 wireless, in my opinion. Minus cost, because this is cheap. Like, it was like $37. So if you like a 502 and you don't have like the $100-some it is for the 502 wireless, this right now, because it's 50%, even though it just came out, it's 50% off. Which is a bang up deal for a high-end mouse. This is the one with the Hero sensor. It's 121 grams, excluding the cable. It's a 502, you know. To be truthful, if you have a 502 that's still working, like if I was going to use a 502, I'd go back to my OG one with the blue LEDs. But I didn't have a Hero edition, so I picked up the Special edition, since it was the Hero, not the downgraded one like the 903 was. And you can kind of see. It's got matte black by the LED for the DPI. Normally that's like this gray color on the original and the 502 Spectrum. I have not seen the Hero. And now it's like a matte black. This rubber is a little bit tougher than on the original, which is good because it kind of wore out on the original. And then basically all the shiny plastic that would be the frame and the side buttons, and like where the accents would have been blue on the original or gray, like because this tab would have been blue on the original, went black on the Spectrum, I believe. And then the accents around here would have all been a shiny black or a gray, depending on where it was. I think down the middle it was shiny. It was a gray. I don't, however, like how it makes it look. I think it makes it look cheap. Might be hard to see on camera. Let's see if I can dim it a bit. Because we're a little bit overexposed, I think. The white plastic looks cheap and cheesy. Especially when you take a look at they took this wheel and made it not like a gunmetal color, but like a silver. And I know why they did, because technically that goes better with the like the white is more of a silver than the darker gunmetal color. However, it looks really cheap because it's definitely painted silver. Like, it's not natively that color. It's some sort of coating. Like I said, though, this is the SE, so Special Edition, only available probably this holiday. It's definitely at a reduced price. I don't know how long that'll go for. It was like 52% off. It was $37 for this mouse. And I know a G502 Hero is normally considerably more than that. The cable, some people say, is an improvement from the original. I don't think so. I don't know if this is the standard Hero cable, because it's much stiffer than the original 502, from what I remember. Now, the original 502, even though it was great, had issues with fraying. Some even people had issues with it kinking. I never had kinking issues because I always wrap my cables quite well. But yeah, this cable, I don't know if this is the standard Hero or not. Because this is the Special Edition, I think it's like for holiday, because it's on I have a picture of it on, like, there's a whole thing with all the Special Edition ones that are all reduced price. Some of the products are definitely made just for, like, it's like, oh, we still have some 903s, even though we sell the 903 Hero. Let's try and get rid of the 903 as a 903 SE and repackage it cheaper. You know, like that sort of thing. Whereas this is actually a unique one. just white colored in a Hero. So I guess I'd rather have this in my collection than a standard Hero, even though it does, in my opinion, look a bit cheaper. The white does look unique, like that looks good, but it does cheapen the look of the mouse, especially with this like very silver wheel. And I will say, I can even hear it. I don't know, I'll bring up the mic for you guys, but do you hear it kind of rattling? This is an issue that the 502 has had since the wireless, until the wireless came out, when they redesigned it to be a much lighter wheel. If this is slightly off balance, it'll like so like you'll hyper scroll and stop it, and then if you don't stop it like because it's not like balanced, it'll continue to roll a little bit up or a little bit down. And this is something that, if you've seen Frozen Slate, he's stopped in and he's helped me on builds, and he's played a lot of games with us and stuff like that. He ran the 502 for a long, long time. As it was one of the few mice that didn't cause him to like hold it. I think he did end up figuring out that he held it weird, like canted like that a little bit. But he used it. He liked that mouse. He used it for a long time. But he also had the same issue that I can literally see it moving up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And not because of the bumps, but actually, like, you can hear it. It's just a little bit. That's the reason why you balance the tires in your car so you don't have, like, vibration going on. So what'll happen is you'll spin it and stop it, and so you don't stop it. Like, you'll press, like, because you can't press down when you stop it because you'll middle click. But you don't stop it perfectly. It'll roll a little bit forward, roll a little bit back. The 903 didn't really have that. 900, 903, 903 Hero don't really have that issue because it's a lighter wheel. And the 502 wireless does not, because that is a super light wheel. They managed, and I know why they went to this from like the G700, G502. They made the wheel heavier, that way it spins and feels even smoother. The issue is when you have that more mass spinning, if even some of the mass is off, it makes a big difference because it carries more is it momentum? I think it's momentum. I'm getting tired and slightly drunk, buzzed at least, and that definitely causes issues. So if yours is really off and you notice that, I would return it and get another one. For my 502, I went through 3 mice before I found one that was not as bad, and they did later improve that somewhat. But I would kind of expect you to have more issues with this one, since I feel like this special edition is definitely aimed at like holiday season, being that it's launching at 50% off. It's definitely a cheaper packaged mouse, so the QC probably isn't as high. Now I can't say that for sure. Logitech could, I highly doubt they'll contact me. I don't really have contacts there, but like, they might be like, nope, QC is the same. It's just cheaper package that helps us make it cheaper, etc. And we just made it a special color because they don't just want to probably discount their normal SKU, is what they probably don't want to do. And I do appreciate the color change. It looks good, part of my collection. And I like a white mouse. I would almost prefer if the whole thing was white, or it was white in the opposite direction. But I can see why that would be harder to do. These shiny plastic bits are definitely ABS, whereas these matte ones are probably going to be harder to reproduce in a different color because they probably figured out like the chemical thing because it'll shrink when it cools, etc. These ABS ones are probably much, much easier to switch the material out on than the other surfaces you're touching, because this is more of a like accent color / frame than the mouse itself. So, but and it does have the new connector from the Hero, so I like their new connector. It's a much more standard square. I really hate when mouse companies or like any peripheral companies, like and I understand why they want to make a connector that stands out, so you can tell what it is in the backside of your computer, etc. But sometimes they'll go like beyond the standard USB connector, and it'll be like huge on the sides or like whatever, and then you can't like plug another device in next to it. I'm happy that Logitech went to this more standard sized USB, and you can tell that this is, you know, it's still definitely like, hey, this is a Logitech connector, but it fits within the standard space of a USB. So you're not dealing with like a wider connector or a thicker connector, etc. 502 is still a decent design mouse. I would probably take the Basilisk if you're talking at full price. I would personally take the Basilisk. I have not used the new Basilisk wireless, so I couldn't say G502 wireless versus that new high-end like Basilisk Ultimate wireless. From all of these, unless you really want the hyper scroll and the additional buttons, like if you aren't going to use the, and this thing back in the day when this came out and I was on Linus Tech Tips forums, I pretty much predicted this, and they did an amazing job redesigning this from the 502. The buttons they limited the buttons compared to something like a 602 or a 600, and they made them nice and big, easy to access. Whereas a lot of mice the other time were trying to cram more and more buttons on there, but like if every button's as small as this DPI button, it's very hard to hit them. Whereas these you can kind of just roll over. You can just kind of like roll your finger over and hit it. I think this influenced a lot of the design. The one thing I will say is this is on the smaller size for a pole mouse. Once again, if you're younger, go for it. And I think this is what it was aimed at because they launched this mouse with their best sensor and they cashed it on it. It is one of their best-selling mice because of that. And for the longest time, it was the best-selling mouse because they could say it had the best sensor and it kept that for a long period of time. That's why it's so popular. I don't think it's all that popular because of the shape. Shape is all right. I even use it for a period of time, but for me it's a bit small. They would build it out a little bit more. I'd appreciate it. Also, if they would decrease the weight. I have a feeling, and they did that with the 502 wireless actually, besides making it wireless, they made it lighter. By making this like cool, funky design with this like this white, I have a feeling that all this stuff is, I'm taking it apart. There's a subframe under there. They could make this mouse a lot lighter. And that's how they did it with the wireless, even though they added a battery and stuff like that. They went more for looks, like cool looks, and like even in the retail store, they could be like, yeah, you should buy that one for your kid, or like you should buy that one because it's got the best sensor, nothing touches it, etc. And then that set them out for a good, you know, like long time because it did legit have the best sensor. People knew it. It was the only one that had it for a while. And a lot of people used it because of that, and it just kind of held in the market. And once something like, look at the HyperX Cloud, that's a good headset, legitimately. But then now they have a huge peripheral market because of the HyperX Cloud. That could have been completely different, you know, if it was a different headset. So, just theories on marketing, that sort of stuff, I guess. But you can't really make a hit. I think they did with this. Like, I predicted a lot of what they were going to do with this. I, however, did not predict very well the 402. I think they should have gone a different direction with that. There's a reason why the 402 kind of like doesn't exist anymore. They should have gone more towards the MX518. And if you notice, they've reintroduced the MX518 with the Hero sensor. They could have actually improved on the MX518 shape, if you ask me. With the 402, and that would have been much preferred over what they ended up doing with that weird hybrid sensor and all that BS. Here's one thing I could tell you too. The QC is definitely worse than this because the mouse feet aren't straight on the bottom. This does still have the old design of the rear foot. They corrected this in the 502 wireless. I don't know if it was corrected on the normal Hero. This just reads 502 SE. It does have the Hero sensor though, so I would assume it's based on the Hero and it's just the different color. But the foot is corrected on the 502 wireless. If you see right back here, it's very, very thin. That's right where you put a lot of weight because it's the back of your palm. So if you palm grip it, you'll put a lot of weight there. And it'll actually chip pieces of the mouse foot out. It was so bad on the original that they actually would, if you contacted them, they would send you a new set of mouse feet because it would wear this back foot so substantially. This is another thing where a lot of these lines too, I would have preferred, because some people can feel it depending on their grip, they could have made that just one piece. It wouldn't have looked as cool. Like on the white it looks legitimate, but with the matte black, and I know they were rebranding their looks, The weird thing is the 602 that came before this looked like the design aesthetic was completely different than this. I mean, after that, 502, 402, kind of all pulled the same thing in the follow-ups to that, or the follow-up mice to that, kind of pulled the same aesthetic. But this is definitely aesthetic for aesthetic's sake. That's kind of why you see on the wireless, they cut down on this a lot. Like on this texturing, on the jutting here, because if they would have just not put that there, I know it's like all for like visual design and stuff, but it would make a more functional mouse. Instead of having this little tiny foot here, if they were just foot, foot, done, sort of thing. You can see what they kind of did in that respect in the 502 wireless. That's why I said if you actually like the 502 and you have the money, buy the 502 wireless. If you want wireless and kind of like this sort of shape, look at that new Basilisk X that I picked up. Otherwise, if you're looking for a 502, I don't know if you could get a used one much cheaper than this. It was like $36, $37, brand new. A little bit of pop with the white. I'm not a huge fan of the silver scroll wheel. I think it looks cheesy. It definitely, like, if you ignore the silver scroll wheel, the white and black looks way better. They would just made that black scroll wheel or something. And I know why the gunmetal wouldn't have worked, but I would have went black then. Blend it in. Because anytime you make it go lighter, it makes it look cheaper on something like that's supposed to be metal, in my opinion. But otherwise, like, for the money, especially since it's the Hero one, pick her up. Strain relief is good on it. I don't know if this is the standard Hero cable, like I said before. I prefer these even though it's frayed, I prefer the original G502 cable, which if I was going to use a G502 still, which is why I'm getting rid of my Spectrum, because it's really, the G502, the Spectrum, just added RGB, and the blue was actually a nice blue color. I would probably use the original. With this, maybe still probably use the original, just because it's nice and worn in. Though this is, nice upgrade. But once again, if you have a 502 already, unless you want to spend that bunch more on a 502 wireless, just keep rocking it. Nothing wrong. Like, you don't need to buy a new mouse every time they put out a new model. There's no reason to. You know what I mean? Let's zoom out, and I got one more thing for us tonight then. And then I gotta head to bed so I can get to work tomorrow. And it's not a mouse. I know, right? Crazy. It's a controller. What? Alright, we'll have more mice tomorrow. Some not as new ones. But the last thing we're hitting up tonight, and I might even use it tonight when we're done, just to chill, play some games, is this 8-bit do. And that is apparently how it's said. This was in at Best Buy too when I was in picking up that. I ran into that Hyperspeed, Basilisk X Hyperspeed with squares. This was in there as well. They started carrying the 8-bit do. This is the SN30 Pro. The N30 Pro is or N30, I believe, is a very popular one. That's based on the NES one. This is based on a SNES controller. I did see this mentioned, as well as the SN30 Pro something. I don't know. It's got the dangly side, but grips on the side. Specifically didn't want that. What this is a SNES style controller. SN, Super Nintendo. Pro, Bluetooth gamepad. Works with Switch. Cool. Windows. Definitely cool. Android, macOS, Steam, awesome. 8-bit do also sells adapters to work directly in your NES, to work in your SNES, to work in your Wii U. You don't need one for the Switch, since it's natively compatible. These are also the guys that make, if you have a GameCube controller and you want to use it on PC natively, wirelessly, they have adapters that will make it as an adapter that you plug your GameCube controller in, and it will adapt it to either the Switch wirelessly or to the PC, depending if you press Switch or Xbox. So it either emulates an Xbox controller for PC or emulates a Switch controller for Switch. It also has a plug on the side for any of the ones that are Wii compatible. Like Wii, it goes in the back of the Wii controller, so that would include anything for the Wii, anything for the Wii U that go in the back of the Wiimote, as well as the NES Classic and SNES Classic controllers, because those use that same proprietary connector. So that's a really nice adapter. I liked it a lot. It's like sub $20. And I heard good things about this. I think it was PC World that reviewed it. And he actually had reviewed the one with the grips. I'm specifically going to be using this for that new Zelda on Switch. I've been using a GameCube controller until now. I have like a GameCube Switch controller that's wireless. And Cuphead on PC, because I've been trying to use a Xbox Duke controller to play Cuphead, and that's not been going well. You know, Duke controllers aren't great. Let's get this zoomed in here. We got the 8-bit do. Looks like a SNES controller. You got analog sticks though. You got the favorite button. You got your, I think it's your share button. Switch. Windows 7 should emulate a Xbox controller for that. Steam. So Steam will let you use Switch controllers, so you probably cannot. You don't have to leave Switch mode in order to get it to work on Windows. Then Android doesn't mention iOS. That'd be nice too to see, but and Raspberry Pi. You need Bluetooth 2.0 or higher to use this. If you're using it on something else, 8-bit Dude does sell a Bluetooth 2.1 adapter. I think we're in like Bluetooth 5 now or something. So that's like the bare minimum to get this guy working. Comes in a nice box, clear protective doodad. There you go. Pretty simple. You know what's a benefit though of specifically the SN30 Pro, not the N30. That is Type-C port, baby. Oh, and I should mention this works wired and wirelessly. Which is important. So you can charge her up, I believe. There's a so, and I wanted this specifically for like that Zelda, because it's the new Zelda on Switch is based on a Game Boy game. And you do have click down on the sticks too, but then I also wanted this for Cuphead, and this will be great for that, because you need a nice D-pad. It's nice and poppy. You do have both L, R, R2, L2, so click, click, and they're not, the L2, R2, they have more movement than the bumpers, essentially, which would be L and R, but they're not analog. They're still just click. You have a lot more movement on them. The nice thing with them both being a size, it's not like on a lot of other controllers where you have to like roll your hand to hit it, like on an Xbox, or on a PlayStation where you have to use both. You can very easily hit. Like, I think most of this you're going to be using games that will use either mainly L or R, or L2, R2, depending on the game you're playing. And it just sits, like, I really wanted this, it just sits in your hand like this. You know, just nice. Most of what I will play probably will not use the analog sticks, which is why I'm happy they're nice and out of the way. The one with the, like, wings on it, that is like more comfortable, quote unquote, fits a lot like a PlayStation controller. And we're not talking PS3 and older, we're talking like PS4-esque. Because they're very long and they get slender, so it sits in your hand really well, but it definitely positions your hands more to use the analog sticks, whereas this, and I would say like the PlayStation 3 and older controllers, like they definitely make your hands sit more on top because you're more likely going to be using D-pad and buttons, and sometimes using the sticks, like 6 for camera or something like that, then and D-pad for movement, than you are you're sitting on top, like you hold it down here and you use this, rather than when you start adding handles on it like that, you start holding it like this. If that makes sense. Like your fingers are like that, whereas when you have something like this, you hold it down in your hand, like, you know, like so, and press the buttons. Whereas once you start having handles, you start, like, it's a little bit of an exaggeration both ways. But, and I wanted more of a, this, for doing platformer stuff, and 2D top-down. Got your Type-C cable, got your port for, this looks very much like a Switch controller here, with how it's set up. Makes sense though. Then on the bottom they have a little guide. Oop. They have a guide that says mode. So switch is Y plus power. D input is B plus power. I think that's Steam. X input, that'd be Xbox controller, that's what you want to use on PC. That's going to be X in power, and then Mac OS is A in power. So basically, depending on what you use to power it up in, and it does have turbo function, press the star to access turbo. Turbo's kind of interesting. Like back in the day when we did a lot of console gaming, I had to use for it, like playing a bunch of Tales of Symphonia, stuff like that. It works like your standard turbo. Press star, press button. Button's now turboed. Do this, press star button again to deactivate turbo. Analog sticks cannot be turboed. Turbo does not apply to Switch. Battery status, it has a built-in battery. I believe the older ones, these, you just put batteries in them. I might be wrong there, but that's just what I recall. I'm just happy that this, oh, it's Chinese, not Japanese on the back. My bad, guys. And here's a big thing in my opinion. They actually include a USB 2.0 to Type-C cable. Not saying that's unheard of, but that's pretty rare to see. I remember the little cable they included with the GameCube adapter, because that was micro B. It was just a short little guy. It was cute. But yeah, they actually included Type-C cable. And Type-C cables, now this isn't a 3.0 one, so they had to solder a lot less cable, or a lot less wires in there. But it's still not cheap to make Type-C cables. So this is like an actual, like, you know, like cost added for this. Now I won't need it because I won't be ever using it wired, so I won't need that. And charging it, I have Type-C chargers out the wazoo nowadays because everything should be Type-C. If it's not, it should be Type-C. This Blue Yeti that we're using, the Yeti Mini, Yeti Nano. Why it's not Type-C, even though it launched when Type-C's been on for years, I don't know. It's finally micro B. The older Yetis were mini B. For a microphone though, I'd take mini B over micro B any day. Yeah, so I'll probably get this plugged in and charging, and might play some Zelda tonight with it right before bed. Gotta get some sleep. These sticks definitely, like, it feels like a SNES controller. Like, it seriously does. The bumpers are a little bit smaller than they would be on a SNES controller because they had to make room for the triggers. But otherwise, it has the same convex A and B buttons and concave X and Y buttons that you'd be used to on a SNES controller. The analog sticks are definitely out of the way. Like, you have to purposely go and use them. Like, if you're just, like, platforming away, I don't think you're going to hit them. You can I can finally bump them, I guess, with my, but, like, they don't want to put them too far away because you still need to be able to use them if you want to use them. Like, this would be probably great for, like, JRPGs, because a lot of times you're using D-pad, and this is smaller and lighter. Like, you don't, like, grip onto it, oh, I got new shooters, pow, 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 pow. You know, like, this might be great on PC for JRPGs, like I play, you know, Tales games, that sort of stuff. You know, your Final Fantasy. I was going to start playing the new one of that, too. Now I got RTX on the home theater PC. So we might give that a shot there, too. I've heard good things about 8-Bit Do. Their GameCube controller adapter is mint. I would use it more on PC, but you don't have, like, a lot of games now want you to have to click in for the analog, and it doesn't emulate that. And you're missing some other, like, it only has one bumper button. Remember, the GameCube only has the Z button. It doesn't have Z, R, Z, L. on original GameCube, so that kind of limits you as well. So it really depends on the games you're playing, like how useful that was. I thought it would be a bit more useful, but I forget a lot of games assume now you have bumpers and triggers as well as sticks. And the GameCube controller just didn't have that. It does have nice analog triggers with a click at the bottom that a lot of other controllers still have not emulated. And I actually really like the buttons with the big A, little B. Like it's very intuitive rather than this is because it's just a grid. So that's why I do have the GameCube Switch controllers. Those work great for Switch. They do not have native support on Windows. However, Steam can use them. It has to be Steam games though, or SteamOS, which I think is dead. Or Linux with whatever, you know. But I was impressed by the build quality on this. I was happy they went to an internal battery, Type-C. Super important, especially if you're using it wired, because like that's one thing that you might want to do is like say if you only want to pair Bluetooth to your Switch and then on PC you want to do wired, that we don't have to keep pairing and unpairing it. That would be one reason why it'd be nice to have both wired and wireless connectivity.